I've done a lot of recent videos on how to play as Undead in Pathfinder 2e. However, what about controlling Undead to use against your enemies? Well, that's what this video is about, the Reanimator Archetype. So if you like what you see, like, subscribe, ding the bell, and let's get into this archetype. First, I want to talk about 3 feats that are available to this archetype, but also to very specific subsets of 3 different classes. These 3 feats are also available to clerics with the harmful font, bone mystery oracles, and wizards with the necromancy school. First up, we have Undying Conviction. Undead creatures that are under your control and within a 30-foot emanation of you gain a +2 bonus on saving throws against positive effects and to will saves against being controlled. This feat is okay. If you're running into a lot of other necromancers that want to take control of your undead, or if you're just running into a lot of angels or clerics, this is a good feat. A flat +2 to resist that kind of stuff is really good for a necromancer. But if you're not really running into that type of thing, then this is probably not a feat you want to take. Unfortunately, this is the only level 4 feat in this archetype. So if you've got free archetype, you're either going to have to take this feat at level 4, or you're going to have to wait until you get 3 feats from a different archetype to take the Reanimator dedication. But remember, you can also take this feat from any of the classes I mentioned before as well. Necromancer's Visage is essentially Sanctuary, but for low-level undead. Each time an undead creature 2 or more levels below you attacks you, it must make a will saving throw. On a critical success, the undead is unaffected and permanently immune to this feat. On a successful saving throw, the undead can make its attacks this turn normally. On a failed saving throw, the undead wastes its strike action and can no longer attack you that turn. If an undead critically fails its saving throw, then it wastes its strike action and can no longer attack you as long as the effects of this feat persist. If you take a hostile action against an undead creature, that creature becomes permanently immune to this feat, and this feat's effect ends. However, you can spend 10 minutes reapplying it. If you are affected by Sanctuary or a similar effect, you don't get both. You choose which one affects the target. Just like Sanctuary, this is a good way to hold off a bunch of undead, especially if they're really low level, but otherwise it's just not that good. It only works on undead, so it's pretty situational. But it is a constant thing until it ends. You don't have to spend a spell slot casting Sanctuary. Sepulchral Sublimation is an excellent metamagic feat at level 14. For one action, you may instantly destroy one undead creature that is permanently under your control. If you do, and your next action is to cast a necromancy spell, you may do so without expending a spell slot. The spell must be half the destroyed minion's level or lower and can't have a duration. Now this is an undead that you permanently control. That pretty much means it has to be an undead animal companion, or it has to be an undead you created using the Create Undead ritual. Animate Dead will not work for this, but this is an excellent way of getting free low-level spells. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to take this archetype just for this feat. But remember that this is also available to certain subsets of clerics, oracles, and wizards. I'm honestly kind of surprised that these 3 feats aren't available to Undead Bloodline sorcerers, because that would make sense too. Okay, now it's time to talk about the Reanimator dedication. To take this dedication, you must be able to cast Animate Dead with a spell slot. If you're a spontaneous caster, then Animate Dead becomes a signature spell for you in addition to your other signature spells. If you're a prepared caster, then you can spend 10 minutes to swap out one of your prepared spells for an Animate Dead with the same level. In addition, and this is the big one, if you are able to target a mostly intact creature when casting Animate Dead, that undead receives a +1 bonus to basically everything. There isn't much in Pathfinder 2e that gives this type of flat bonus. Being able to give this bonus to specifically undead summons is huge. This will always be helpful no matter what level you are. The only thing that this doesn't buff is damage, but hey, most undead have pretty good damage anyway. Also, keep in mind, this is for the duration of Animate Dead, which can be up to 1 minute. Then at level 6 we've got Deathly Secrets. You gain either the Eyes of the Dead or the Subjugate Undead focus spell. If you don't already have one, you gain a focus pool with 1 point. You can also select this feat again to get the other focus spell and increase your focus pool by 1 point. I'll talk about these 2 focus spells at the end of the video. Also at level 6 we have Macabre Virtuoso. You learn the Create Undead rituals for 2 common types of undead for which you meet the prerequisites. You can't teach these rituals to anyone else, and you can't allow someone else to serve as the primary caster unless they also know the ritual. Whenever you level up, you can change these rituals to a type of undead which you now qualify for. When you are acting as the primary caster, the ritual takes 4 hours instead of 1 day. Also, you can cast these rituals by yourself without a secondary caster. Remember that feat I was talking about earlier? The one that lets you sacrifice undead minions for free spells? Yeah, this feat combined with that one, oh my god. With this feat, you can realistically create 3 or 4 undead per day, which with the other feat means 3 or 4 free necromancy spells a day, assuming you have the downtime. And as that feat usually takes a lot of preparation, this pretty well gets rid of most of that. You can also select this feat more than once, and when you do, you learn the Create Undead rituals for 2 more types of undead. Next at level 8, we've got another great feat for this archetype. With Bonds of Death, you can literally sustain 2 Animate Dead spells at the same time and still cast spells. If you've cast Animate Dead this turn, then you can for a free action sustain a previous casting of Animate Dead. In addition, doing this binds the 2 spells together. On subsequent rounds, you can sustain both spells with 1 action. So essentially how it works is you cast Animate Dead 1 turn, and then on your next turn, you cast Animate Dead again, and then you Bonds of Death. This essentially allows you to keep 2 summons up while still casting attack spells. Another fantastic feat for this archetype. At level 10, we have Greater Deathly Secrets. You gain either the Malignant Sustenance or the Grasping Grave focus spell. Your focus pool also increases by 1. Just like Deathly Secrets, you can take this feat more than once. If you do, you gain an extra focus point and the spell you didn't pick the first time. These 2 focus spells are in the core rulebook, so I'm not going to cover them in this video. And the last feat for the Reanimator archetype is Master of the Dead. You gain the Shambling Horror focus spell. Your focus pool also increases by 1 point. Speaking of focus spells, it's time to cover the ones in this book. First up, we have Eyes of the Dead. This focus spell basically allows you to see through the eyes of one of your undead minions. This doesn't allow you to communicate with them unless you heighten the spell. In addition, while looking through the senses of the undead, you are flat-footed and you cannot move, attack, or cast spells. This goes out to a mile, and you can sustain the spell for up to 1 minute. However, heightening the spell to 6th level, so that's at 11th level, increases the range to 100 miles, and you can sustain it for up to 10 minutes. Also, you can now telepathically communicate with it for the duration of the spell. This one's pretty good. It's a good way to find out about ambushes without actually putting the party in danger, especially once you reach level 11 and can heighten the spell. Next up is Subjugate Undead. Target 1 undead creature whose level is no more than your level -4 within 30 feet. It must make a will saving throw. If the target undead is already being controlled by another creature, it also makes a will saving throw, and the undead uses the better of the 2 results. Casting this spell again ends any previous castings of this spell. On a critical success, the target is unaffected and immune for 24 hours. On a success, the target is unaffected. On a critical failure, the target becomes an undead minion under your control. This lasts for 1 minute. If you or any of your allies take a hostile action against this undead, the spell ends. If the undead creature critically fails on its saving throw, then the duration is increased to 10 minutes. This one isn't very good, at least not in combat. The undead that you can control with this spell just aren't going to be much use in combat. I mean, if you're in like Geb or something, then you could use this spell to make just a random NPC or thrall. But stuff like that generally has pretty big consequences. I totally understand why they did it this way. I mean, if it was your level, you'd be able to take control of some undead bosses, especially in modules. But I do think that level -4 is a bit too much. I think they could have done level -2 and been fine. For the last focus spell, Shambling Horror is very confusing, but I'm going to try my absolute best here. Again, the target is a dead creature that has a level no greater than your level -4. It must also have died since the last sunrise. You reanimate the target as an undead minion under your control. Choose the stat block of a skeleton or zombie creature that is the same size as the original creature. This stat block can't have a level higher than that of the original creature. However, the Shambling Mound keeps the same speed it had in life. It also keeps any attacks that it had in life that only do physical damage. These attacks use the highest attack modifier of the zombie or skeleton you chose. The GM makes final choice as to what abilities the Shambling Horror has. You can't control more than one Shambling Horror at the same time. Creating another one makes you release one of them. Release Shambling Horrors only lasts for 10 minutes. When the spell ends, you can cast this spell on a corpse again. Doing so reanimates it once again. However, after the next sunrise, you can no longer animate that corpse. Basically, once sunrise happens, you need a new corpse. But what do you guys think? Are we using this archetype? Are we playing any Necromancers without this archetype? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos about the Book of the Dead, you can check out these videos here. And until next time, teamwork is vital.